All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're getting into something huge for any manager out there. That moment you have to give tough feedback and you're terrified of coming off like a jerk. We're going to break down a framework called Radical Candor. And honestly, it's a total game changer, especially if you're that manager stuck in the middle, trying to manage your team and manage up.
Let's just start right there with the feeling every manager knows all too well. It's that knot in your stomach, right? You know you have to say something, give some tough feedback, but you just don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to be that boss. But you also know, deep down, something's got to change.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the manager's dilemma. Then we'll break down the Candor framework itself. After that, we'll dive into the 4 feedback styles, see how to actually put this stuff into practice, and wrap up with why being direct is, believe it or not, the best way to build trust. All right, section 1, the manager's dilemma. Let's start with a story. A classic management trap, really. It's that all too common scenario where your good intentions, trying to be nice, trying to spare someone's feelings, end up causing an absolute disaster.
So let's talk about a guy named Bob. For almost a year, his manager knew his work just wasn't cutting it. But did she say anything? Nope. Instead, she'd give him this vague, kind of empty praise because, well, she wanted to avoid that awkward, difficult conversation. She honestly thought she was being kind. But what she was actually doing was setting not just Bob, but her entire team up for a massive failure.
And the fallout from this kindness? It was a slow-motion train wreck. Bob, of course, never improved because no one ever told him what to improve. Meanwhile, his high-performing teammates, they got super resentful, constantly having to fix his mistakes. Team morale just plummeted. Deadlines started getting missed, and maybe worst of all, the team started looking at their manager and thinking, does she even know what good work looks like? Just like that, her credibility was completely shot.
Okay, so what's the alternative here? This is the core of it. It's not this false choice between being a total jerk or being a complete pushover. There's a better way. There's actually a framework that lets you be both direct and compassionate, so you can lead your team with real clarity and real humanity.
And that solution is called Radical Candor. Now, this is super important. This is not a personality trait. You're not born with it. It's a practice, something you do. And it's all about doing 2 things at the exact same time. On one hand, you have to show you care personally about your team as human beings, and on the other, you have to challenge them directly to do their absolute best work.
And this is the part people get wrong all the time. It is not a balance. It's not, okay, I'll care a little less today so I can challenge a bit more. No. You have to do both, all the way, at the same time. You bring your whole self to work. You see your team as real people. And you challenge them directly and clearly because you care, because you respect them enough to want them to succeed.
And this really gets to the heart of why this matters so much for you as a manager. Think about it. Everything you need to do, guide your team, build a great culture, get results, it all, and I mean all of it, flows from the relationships you build. If you don't have that foundation of trust, nothing else is going to work, period.
So, when you take these 2 ideas, caring personally and challenging directly, and you plot them on a simple 2x2 grid, you end up with 4 really different feedback styles. And here's the kicker. Only one of them is actually effective.
Okay, to make this crystal clear, let's use a really simple but kind of perfect analogy. Picture this. You're walking into a super important meeting with a coworker, and you notice, oh no, they have a huge piece of spinach stuck right in their front teeth. What do you do? Well, your answer places you squarely in one of these 4 boxes. If you shout across the room, hey, you got spinach in your teeth, well, that's obnoxious aggression. If you say nothing, but then go tell someone else about it behind their back, that's manipulative insincerity. What if you say nothing because you don't want to embarrass them? That's ruinous empathy. Sound familiar? That's exactly what happened to Bob. But if you quietly pull them aside and just say, hey, quick heads up, you've got a little spinach in your teeth, that is radical candor. It's kind and it's crystal clear.
And this is such a critical point. Radical candor is not a license to be a jerk. Let me say that again. Challenging directly without showing you care is just obnoxious aggression. The care personally piece of this is absolutely non-negotiable. Without it, you will destroy trust, not build it. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do this? Let's get practical and look at what this looks like in the real day-to-day conversations you're having with your team.
Just look at the difference here.
On the one side, you have that vague, ruinous empathy feedback. Maybe be a bit more proactive. What does that even mean? It's useless. On the other side, you have radical candor. It's specific, it's about behavior. In today's meeting, you didn't speak up. See? It points to a real situation, describes exactly what happened, and then explains the impact. That's something someone can actually do something with, whether it's praise or criticism.
And you know what? Timing is absolutely everything. Feedback is like fresh produce. It has a really short shelf life. You can't save it all up for the performance review that's 6 months away. It'll be stale by then. The rule is simple. The moment you see something, say something. Do it right away, in person if you can. Because if you wait, the details get fuzzy, and all those little unspoken criticisms just build and build until eventually they explode.
So let's move on. And I know what you're thinking. This sounds uncomfortable. And you're right, it can be, especially at first. But here's the payoff. Practicing radical candor is the single fastest way to build real, lasting trust. And here's the ironic part. It actually prevents the big, messy conflicts you were trying to avoid by being nice in the first place. So, why is this so ridiculously hard for us? Well, it's because we are literally fighting a lifetime of social conditioning. Remember being a kid? If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? That's drilled into us. But here's the thing. When you become a manager, your job description changes. It's not about being liked anymore. It's about being responsible. That little voice in your head screaming, "Don't make it awkward," is telling you to do the exact opposite of what your team actually needs from you to succeed. Because when you really get it, you see that directness isn't about confrontation. When it comes from a place of genuine care, it's actually a profound sign of respect. You're showing your team, hey, I care enough about you to tell you the truth. You're showing them you're committed to their growth, that you respect them enough to be clear, and that you're trying to create a place where everybody can get better. So at the end of the day, this isn't about changing your personality or becoming some kind of hard ass. It's about taking your responsibility as a leader seriously. Because here's the bottom line. Avoiding directness doesn't create less conflict. It just creates more confusion, more resentment, and a team that can never reach its full potential. The real kindness is clarity. So I want to leave you with a question, a challenge, really. This can't just be some interesting theory you heard. I want you to think about your team right now. What is one, just one, radically candid conversation you can have this week? It could be praise, it could be criticism, but what's one clear, kind, direct thing you can say to someone? Because that one small conversation, that's where it all begins. That's how you start building a stronger, more effective, and more trusting team today.